Hello, welcome to the Turret of Pleasure. Here in the Enchanted Kingdom of Hermione, it's a Friday. And that means it's the end of the week. And I'm celebrating because I managed to make it out of the Enchanted Kingdom's quarantine zone. Get out into the real world. Saw a couple of people. Found myself a fine beer, which is hard to find in the COVID quarantine. And mercifully, for today's show, I also managed to hit a thrift store or two. And I was hoping, when I started making these, to make this a very regular feature. But unfortunately, I haven't been to very many thrift stores. In fact, I've been to maybe 4 this year. And, well, no, that's not true, but a lot of them were in England. 1 or 2 were in Malta. We've seen all about that. But I'm back on home turf. And I'm back to my, let's call them my familiar fishing grounds. And one of the things I have in my favor over a lot of people, I would assume, is the fact that I like everything. I like every style of music. I really do. And when I can find a really good deal on something in the thrift store that's okay, and it's funny because a lot of it depends on price. A lot of thrift stores still maintain CDs are worth $2. Okay, but I'm not going to buy that many of them for $2. If they're a quarter, who knows what I'll buy? I'll buy it just for the hell of it. I'll buy it just to play it once and throw it away. And today is a perfect illustration of this. And it's not an extreme example, but it's just enough. I went to the Salvation Army in Langford, BC here. Hadn't been there since February. And there was exactly 1 CD. Their CDs are $2. Okay. Now in my world, it better be good. For an actual toonie, this better be a record I'm going to enjoy. Sadly, they didn't have any of those. They did have one that had real promise. Till our Mozart CD of his quartets done by the Albenberg Quartet. Now, hey, I'm buying that in a trice for $2. Unfortunately, the CD was not in the box, a very common problem with thrift stores. It will drive you insane. There is sort of a weird rule about the very, very, very best CD you'll find in that thrift store will be the one that you find that doesn't have a CD in it. Anyways, so that sort of, dampened my ardor somewhat. Fortunately, across the street, there's another thrift store, the St. Vincent de Paul. And they, of course, have CDs for only $1. That's better, a little more leeway. And like many, many thrift stores, they have once again moved their CDs. It is a large step up. All the CDs are in the same place. A very rare thing in thrift stores. You'll say to them, "Is this all the CDs?" No, there's some there's some in the back wall. I don't know why they do it, but they do it. So at the St. Vinny's, this was yesterday, went to visit my daughter Anna and then check in with her, and I went and hit the thrift store. I found 3 CDs. Now CDs are neat. They're kind of like fishing in that it's kind of like fishing with a net. You go and you put your net in, and who knows what's going to come up. And a lot of the time you'll get stuff that's not normal, not usual, but all related. And this was an interesting case in point. CD number 1 that attracted my attention, these are $1, remember, was David Sanborn, Taken Off. Now, David Sanborn is a really tough artist for me because I actually really like his saxophone playing, and I actually like some of his music quite a bit. He's played on some really good records, played on Gil Evans's Priestess, if I remember, and yet he has played a very commercial style of jazz fusion, which has made him a fair bit of dough, to be fair, and good for him. But he's always managed to pull it off and not be corny and not be unpleasant, let's just say. I didn't realize it when I bought this. This is his first record, and it has a lot of heavy hitters on it. like Will Lee, and I mean the guys that all ended up playing for Late Night, I think. Who we got here? We got David Sanborn, the Brecker Brothers, Howard Johnson on baritone sax and tuba, excellent. Steve Kahn on guitar, Buzzy Featon on guitar, Joe Beck on guitar, Don Grolnick on keyboards, he's kind of the weak link in my world. Will Lee on bass, Chris Parker on drums, Rick Marotta on second drums, which is a very interesting, sounds good, Ralph McDonald on percussion, a couple of French horns, John Clark, who's on every record in the world with a French horn on it, and and you know what? It's not bad. I think there's a credit to viola by Manny Vardy, who is Emmanuel Vardy, who is a lifelong LA session guy, who I have a box set of him doing the Paganini Caprices on his viola recorded in the 60s, which is almost unendurable. But, you know, it's something. Sanborn, good record. I give that about a B+. And then I found two records by people I've never heard of, but the Radar. So here we have Melton Mustafa and his big band. Now, there's a lot of big band CDs are just kind of, you know. But I noticed this was on Contemporary. Contemporary is a good label. They put out the first Ornette Coleman records, amongst other things. And what's his name? Bob Weinstock is the executive producer, the man that used to run Prestige back in the 50s. So there's good bloodlines on this. Now, I don't really know anybody on this. Jesse Jones Jr. is supposed to be known. There's one other guy on this, isn't there? Ira Sullivan? Is it? Is he on here? Why am I not using my glasses? At any rate, yeah, Ira Sullivan and Pete Minger, I don't know who that is. So I thought for $1, okay, I'll give it a shot. It's excellent. It's a really good modern, he's from Florida, modern big band. That's what this guy really does. He's a big fan of Miles Davis, which I would have never guessed with a song called To You, Miles. But really good. Kind of funky. Kind of sounds like if Gil Evans got a chance to arrange one of Miles's comeback 80s records. If Gil Evans got a proper big band and got Miles to do, you know, Tutu. Never heard of the guy. Radar worked on that one. Then there's this. A guy named Phil Nimmons. Again, I've never heard of this guy. Vintage Nimmons and 9 CBC air checks, 1959 to 64. Now, the secret for this is Sackville Records. Very good label out of Toronto. Jazz label. Not exclusively Canadian, but Canadian-centric, I suppose. And just as a bonus, it's 2 CDs for $1. And this is a lot like, I'll keep this quick because I got lots of stuff to get through. It's sort of like Miles Davis's No Net from 1949, and Gil Evans a little bit, and, you know, again, large ensemble, almost an orchestra. Ed Bickert plays guitar on this, and he's an excellent guitar player, and he's featured quite prominently. Other than that, I don't know too many of these other. I've never heard of these other guys. 1959 to 64, CBC. Pretty darn good sound. $1. Yeah. So that was my 3 records, CDs, I should say, from the St. Vinny. And by the standards of the thrift store dive, I will always take a really great CD over 50 kind of marginal ones. You know, I mean, I'm running out of room, as you can see. And I'd really rather just find one great one. The St. Vincent de Paul in Souk is perfect because they've only got a very small amount of CDs. But once in a while, I'll find something like Max Romeo, War in a Babylon, for $2 there. And it's like, okay, yeah, great, I'll buy that. And it's great because it's usually crap, except for the one fantastic thing in it. So I appreciate that because... But then there's the thrift stores like our new one in Souk, which I cannot remember the name of it. A charitable concern, people volunteer. Lovely people. It's only been open for a little while in Souk. And they've decided, in their infinite wisdom, to my great delight, to price their CDs out at 35 cents. Now, this is a whole new ballgame now. I will buy stuff for 35 cents. I ain't going to pay $2 for it. And now, some of this stuff I would pay $2 for. Anyway, I went there today, first time, and I found, 14. Look at this stuff. So I'm going to show it very quickly. We're going to divide this into 3 categories. Good classical. Stephen Huff, the piano album. This has a lot of great piano music on it. And it's off the beaten track. It's not, Moonlight Sonata, blah, blah, blah. There's some McDowell, there's some Chopin, Liszt, some I can't pronounce his name. Dochnai. A couple of Paderewskis, a couple of Gabrilowicz. Can't pronounce. These are hard names, man. Some Godowski, some Moskowski. And Stephen Hoff is an amazing, great, wonderful pianist. He's been around for quite a while. 35 cents. Hyperion. I'll buy anything on Hyperion. Great sound. The New London Orchestra doing European light music classics. Franz Lehár, Johann Strauss polkas. Really light stuff. 35 cents, I'll buy it. I don't know if I buy it for more than that. Nicholas Harncourt and Gustav Leonhardt doing Voices of Angels, J.S. Bach's most beautiful arias and choruses for boys' voices. What can I say? Nicholas Harncourt and Gus Leonhardt, giants in the early music renaissance of Europe. J.S. Bach, what's not to like? It's great. More J.S. Bach. Here's a double on Virgin, the Christmas Oratorio, which I don't know if I've got a Christmas Oratorio. I must. Anyway, 35 cents for 2 CDs. I mean, on Virgin Classics. What year is this? 89. Great sound. We got some Schumann violin sonatas that are almost certainly from, maybe not, Keith Anderson in Indiana. Never heard of these two musicians. Ilya Kahler, Naxos, typical Naxos. Very good, nothing wrong with it. We have Sir Adrian Boult doing Brahms's First from 1973 and 1971. Pretty much self-explanatory. Boult was with the London Symphony and the London Philharmonic. Solid performances. We've got some Horowitz. Yay! And he's doing Scarlatti. Yay! He's doing Clementi. Yay! Needless to say, there's a Scriabin piece on it. There has to be. And Nikolai Medtner, previously unreleased studio recordings as of 1992. I don't think I have this. 35 cents, I'll buy it. And this one made my day. A reissue, the Eloquence series of Deutsche Grammophon of Vivaldi. This used to be an LP. 1972. Narcisco Yips on guitar. The Ochis on mandolins. And the Orchestra de Chambre Paul Kuntz, which I do believe is from Switzerland. I can't remember. Now, you might wonder why I love this CD. It is not original instruments. It is not even really period Vivaldi. This is modern 60s, 70s, late 60s Vivaldi done on modern instruments for a fairly decent size ensemble. But the reason I love this record, the record especially, was because this was the first, certainly the first Vivaldi record I ever heard when I was a kid, back in about 1972. Deutsche Grammophon, my friend Tony Stark, his dad bought this. And I wish I had the LP here. It's at the lap of luxury. And we would skip out of school and we would play his dad's classical records. And this is the concertos for guitar and the concertos with mandolin. So you got Narcisco Yips, the great Spanish guitarist, playing his, I believe, 10-string guitar with this group. And you have the Oshis. I believe they're Japanese, Sylvia and Takashi Ochi. And they take the mandolins. There's the 2 mandolin concertos, the 2 guitar concertos, and there's the one for 2 flutes, 2 bassoons, 2 violins, 2 guitars. Where's the second guitar, I wonder? But essentially, as far as the sort of basics go, there's 2 guitar, 2 mandolin, and then a couple of mixed ones. And this was the beginning of a journey for me into classical music. It's all very, very tuneful. The tempos are, I guess they're middle of the road. The funny thing about classical music that I discover, and I'd love to hear comments about this, is that the first performance you hear on record of a given piece of music becomes your reference point for all other performances you hear. And so I like this because the reference point was kind of in the middle. I've heard some original instrument recordings of these that seem really fast. I've heard some other ones that seem really slow. So this is nice in the middle. Anyways, I might even have this already and not know it, because there is that possibility. And if that's the case, I'll give this to somebody. So that was the classical ones today. Now there's a couple of odds and sods that I thought were neat. I found the Unforgettable Fire. I don't think I've ever played this back to back, and it is Brian Eno. I'm gonna play it once and then maybe give it to a kid. And then now there's the Mischief CDs. Well, who doesn't want Percy Faith's greatest hits? Now, Percy Faith, Canadian-born, son of Canada, the easy listening king. Man, I hate these sticky things. And I've already done terrible things with his quadraphonic records, rejigging them and stuff. And this is going straight into that file. Music to be fucked with. But then now we're getting into the interest. Now for 35 cents, kids. 35 cents, I'll buy just about anything. So when I found Sound and Silence, really, Sound and Silence. Where's the picture? There they are. Look, they are blissed out. This is Greeting A, followed by Tonings A. Greeting B, Tonings B, Greeting C, Toning C, and then a little farewell. Now I played about 90 seconds of this a few minutes ago. The tonings are him making tones with his mouth. Yeah, stay tuned with me on this one. The greetings are, I do believe the record begins with the words, "Do you believe in magic?" Stay tuned on this one, kids. Then we have Relaxing Harp. You're getting the thread here. Now this is sealed. I'm not going to let the genie out. But let's just see. Relaxing Harp. Now, generally when I see the word harp, I just buy it. I like it. Relaxing preceding harp is a bit of a red flag. Somerset Entertainment. Okay, so we've got harp performances of classical favorites. Okay. I'm really hoping that's all it is. I don't want there to be... I'm hoping this is just what it says it is. If it is, solid 35 cents. If not, then it might be something like this. Now, these are dangerous. There's a lot of these out there, folks. Pachelbel, 3 meditative variations with ocean. Live and Let Live, 3D surround sound. Okay, first things first, it is not 3D surround sound. Okay, got that out of the way. It is stereo. What's more, this is the Canon in D by Pachelbel, but they don't really explain much. It's just gonna let us take you on a journey. They don't explain what the Pachelbel Canon is actually performed on. Well, you have to look, and let me read this. The quintessential Canon in D features a sensitive and expansive soundscape that explores the inner realms of the conscious mind, incorporates the highest quality 3D surround sound technology, played with feeling and artistry, specially played and composed at 60 beats per minute, the speed of a sleeping person's heartbeat. And then it says strings / harp / 12-string guitar / oboe / piano. I heard none of the things on this. What there is a really bad synthesizer keyboard, and believe me, I did not linger on this. But there's track 1, Canon in D, toning, 9 minutes. Canon in D, meditation. Then 3 is Canon in D, inner harmony. Canon in D is, wait for it, toning reprise. 5, Canon in D, meditation reprise. I'll bet you can't guess what 6 is. Well, if you guessed inner harmony reprise, you'd be right. It's 17 minutes long. Life's too short, but at some point I will listen to that 17-minute version. What I did ascertain in the very briefest sampling of this is that somebody has taken a recording of the ocean and put it through a really terrible reverb, is what they've done, and then they've played the Pachelbel Canon on an unbelievably terrible synth patch on top of it, and that's as far as I got before I said, I got no time for this. Finally, and this is what makes this hobby so much fun. Now, I'm a record nut. I'm a sucker for shit that nobody else even, they don't even get it. So what we have here is, what is this? I do not speak fluent German. I barely speak any German, in fact. So I looked at this, and this is where my sleuthing instincts come in. Okay, identify the product. What could it possibly be? I forget what Mundart means. Okay, well, my first clue, there's a Swiss cross. In my world, that's a positive, for the most part. Lots of umlauts, that's never a bad thing. But then the word scream, the only English word here that I can think. That's a good sign. So scream. Präsent von Jahresblick. Schweizer radio, so it's Swiss radio, it's some kind of promo. Okay, turn it over. Oh, goody, goody, goody. It's on EMI Switzerland. Again, remember, I am this weird guy. I really am interested in what, like, Warner Brothers Austria puts out. It's very interesting. Now, there is a lot of German on this. However, there's a song by somebody named Florian Ast called Sex. So I thought, well, that's a good place to start. And you know what? It's a totally commercial, corporate rock pop song. And it's delightful. I was like, this is great. There's also, apparently, Scream is the band. And there's a song called Aquarium. I'll get to that one, I suppose, later. And then there's a band called Rumpelstilts, which does not inspire confidence. That's like calling your band Ramfunctious. And they do a song called Teddy Bar with an umlaut over the A and no E. So I'm gonna have to say that this is a 2004 EMI Music Switzerland sampler record of some ilk. Needless to say, because they're Swiss, there is nothing in English on this whatsoever, except, of course, this makes me laugh. On the inside is a thank you for buying this music and for supporting the artists, songwriters, musicians, and others who created it and made it possible. Please remember that this is recording and artwork are protected by... Back off. I'm going to do terrible things to this, I'm sure. So there you got it. Now, here's the best part. This entire haul of delightfulness cost me $8, which will buy me a pint of beer at the... Oh, God, it's not good. There you go, yeah. Yeah, buy me a pint of beer at the pub, so... The thrift stores are back. We're going to keep documenting what comes out of them, because it's all delightful for the most part, and if it isn't, I can give it back to them, for God's sake. Oh, no. Looks like the Britannica's hit the mine. I'm going to finish this beer. Relax. Sit there and maybe watch another ship sink. No hockey today because Black Lives Matter. I think that's a good thing that there's no hockey today. Take it easy. We'll see you when I find some more stuff to talk about. Take care.